Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 24th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. Between them, they've covered Penn State for more than 75 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ's Anderly Penwell, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime on WTAJ. I'm Anderly Penwell. I'm joined by Mark Brennan, Neil Rudell, and Steve Smear. Welcome back, guys. Great first weekend for the Nittany Lions. What are your guys' reactions?
Well, first I want to credit you guys. You got the extra mile award because Steve coming in here drove in 3 hours to Maryland, and Mark had some travel issues. So appreciate you, both you guys going the extra mile. What a defensive performance in the clutch, and a perfect guest with great defense. Penn State allowed Wisconsin to hold the ball 95 plays, 30 first downs. Usually you lose games like that, but Penn State won the turnover battle and kept their poise. Just very impressive.
Yeah, I actually had people on the airplane saying, "Are you going to make it back in time to shoot the show?" And I did make it back, everybody. Listen, when you see this game on the schedule a couple years ago when it came out, everybody's thinking, wow, I mean, you have to go out and start the season at Wisconsin. The downside if you lose is you get off to a bad start. The upside, now I think we have to take a whole different look, and not that we'll do that, in this show, but it sets such a positive tone coming off of last year where Penn State really struggled to start the season like this. And James Franklin, let's face it, I mean, in his career, they've had some troubles early in seasons, especially against better opponents. So to come out and send that message right off the bat, the most impressive win for a Big Ten team in my view of the first couple weeks, I thought it was just a great sign for the season.
I'm so happy about the game and the way we won it. I was so happy. If I wasn't 73 years of age, I'd do a rendition of the Wisconsin jump around for you right here, but I'd probably pull a hamstring, So, but it was a great game. I thought defensively, we played very well. Offensively, second half, we came back and played well. So all in all, we won the game. We usually don't win. We usually don't upset anybody. We did in a really tough situation in Wisconsin. That was a great crowd.
So yes, first half offense, sluggish. Second half, Dotson and Clifford really pulled it together. What did you guys think of those adjustments Yursich made at halftime?
I thought it was very impressive how they had a situation where things weren't working up the middle, and they started getting the ball on the perimeter to Dodson, to their playmakers, started pass blocking a little better, and that opened up the run game. I think, hey, it's his first game, so there's a little bit of a learning curve. But the fact that he made the adjustments so quickly, Clifford threw for 201 yards in the second half.
Yeah, two things jumped out to me. I mean, remember with Joe Moorhead, I mean, everybody thought he was the greatest thing since Jelly, and it took them 3 games to adjust to his offense, and to be able to do it in a half in that environment against that team. I also love the fact that what did we see from Sean Clifford? We saw the 2019 version. The guy who knew he had playmakers and didn't try to win the game himself. When things weren't working, he did not force things. And he eventually took his time, and he said after the game, listen, we knew it was only a matter of time until things were going to pop, and guess what? They did. When you have talents like, Jahan Dotson, their tight ends didn't get really involved, but they will. The running backs, Noah Cain finally came around. Other wide receivers, there was enough talent there that somebody's going to get it done, and they did. They were patient, and it worked.
And going back to the defense, something that I saw all over social media was bending and not breaking. What sort of defensive tenacity was so important, and just why is that sort of mentality important to have in college football, especially in a conference like the Big Ten?
Go ahead, Steve.
You're going to let Steve take that one? Thanks, Neil.
Well, first of all, I think they were really well prepared defensively. Don't bend, don't break. You bend, but you don't break. They kept everything in front of them. Mentally, I think, we didn't see any mistakes, I thought, or maybe 1 or 2 mental mistakes, but basically they played really, really well. And look, a team, they didn't get any chunk, they got 1 chunk play against us for 30-some yards. We kept them away from the chunk plays, we made them work down the field. And I saw a couple of comments where some writers said, well, they put these drives together, 15, 20 times of, 20 drives, and but if you go to practice, you watch practice. If you watch an offensive team in practice, they don't run 15 or 20 plays without making a mistake, just against the foreign team. So we kept them, from making the big play, and eventually they made a mistake, or we made a play that caused them to make a mistake. So I thought they really played well defensively.
Yeah, and they caught the ball. Hey, they got 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions. That's half of what they got all of last year. They could have had a 3rd and potentially even a 4th, but they did get 3 turnovers. Wisconsin helped them, but hey, that's all part of it.
Well, to do what they did in the red zone, I thought that was just unbelievable. The other thing about Wisconsin, I think we've seen this through the years, is that when a team matches Wisconsin's offense physically, they have nowhere else to go. Yeah. They're lost. They don't have a finesse game. And Mertz could not get it. He could not take advantage of things that may have been there. So the run game, they're piling up these yards between the 20s, but then you get down inside that red zone and it's a whole different story. And that was what impressed me. Penn State, that physical toughness. I thought they out-toughed Wisconsin, especially defense to offense. I thought that was a great sign.
Yeah, when you look at the number of stars on defense, too, young players. I can't pronounce his name, 17.
Ebiketie. He's not young.
Arnold.
Yeah, he's a
There's
grad
not too many Arnolds up there.
AK, he's a grad transfer, but talk about a guy played at Temple, wants to see if he can prove himself in the Big Ten. Welcome to the Big Ten, AK.
Yeah, but I thought Lucetta had also played well, and Brooks was terrific. Brisker. Brown, there was a lot of stars on defense.
One quick point. How about guys like Lucetta and Sutherland? They're not starters. They're veteran players. They have played a lot in the past. Lucetta started. They sacrificed that role for the good of the team. Lucetta playing end and then linebacker. Sutherland playing safety and then linebacker. These guys, that's what you need to be a championship defense. You can have great players, but when you have great backups, veterans who are willing to sacrifice, it's a big thing.
Yeah, quite the performance, great performance by the Nittany Lions. And coming up after a quick break, we'll go over some of the positive reactions that we did like from that win. More after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. A lot of great things happening yesterday in the Wisconsin win. What are some of the things about Sean Clifford? He went 18 of 33, 247 yards, and no turnovers. What about that performance is impressive or stuck out to you guys?
Well, he throws the long ball generally pretty well. They missed one or two, but he started going to Lambert Smith. Initially, he was locked on very much Dotson, that's going to be. But he went to Parker Washington. I think he spread it out a little bit. They dumped it to Kane. They also dumped it to Lambert Smith, who dropped one. I think he's got to try to find chemistry with the tight ends. He was high on a couple catchable balls to those big targets, and I think that's going to help.
Yeah, I think when he made mistakes, though, he made them overthrowing. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, rather trying to force things into coverage, he didn't do that. And it seems to me, I know it's early, but the chemistry between him and Yurcich just seems really, really good. I mean, in talking to Clifford after the game, there was just that sense of confidence that we saw in him 2 years ago was back, and understandably so. But this team is only going to go as far as Sean Clifford takes them in terms of not making mistakes. They need him to get it done because they don't have experience behind him.
Well, the thing with him, with Clifford, is his turnovers. I mean, if he can just keep it, that he doesn't turn the ball over, we're in good shape. And he didn't do that. He didn't force the ball. You know, when he didn't have it there, he threw it out of bounds. He threw it over somebody's head so that no one could intercept it. So he kept away from the turnovers. That's his big thing.
One other quick thing, they didn't run him 25 times and get him beat up, which I think maybe they learned their lesson from the last couple seasons when he got knocked around.
Yeah, now they only had 51 plays.
I get it, but
so,
still.
yeah, they ran 7 times, and I think that was
well, and a couple of those were sacks, though. I mean, because the sack counts as a rush. So it really rushed 5 times.
The defense was on the field so many times, for so many plays. Some of those guys already lettered for the year. That's about right.
And defensively, we saw a blocked field goal, and again, bending, not breaking. What else stuck out, and who stuck out to you?
Well, that's where I'd love to see
performance?
what Steve has to say about Arnold Ebiketie. I mean, for a guy to come in and play his first game at Penn State.
Well, 2 things I wanted to highlight. One was on Mustafer.
Yeah.
A big play that people didn't notice is that the Brisker interception. Okay, we rushed 6 players. Mustafer did not rush. He dropped off. So he was back about 3 yards. When Mertz went back, he saw Mustafer, but he didn't see to his right Brisker.
Right.
So he thought, I'm going to just throw this ball over, thinking that was the linebacker who didn't get any depth. Tried to throw it, lob it over Mustafer's head, Brisker, interception. Big play.
Is that where he jumped and got
jumped,
a million feet in the air?
Yeah. Well, that was Luchetto on another
Luchetto,
play, and that was a big play. That was a big play. But this one with Mustafer was just, and you know, think about this. That was a real disciplined play for Mustafer. He had played probably 60 plays, they never ran that type of defense. You know, after, you know, all that time of playing, fatigue, and, you know, hey, you know, what am I supposed to do here? Am I going to rush him? I mean, the kid did the right thing, caused a turnover, which was fantastic. As far as, you know, the defensive end, right off the bat, 3rd or 4th play, he did an oulé with that tackle who whiffed, 4-yard loss. And I think that made that, you know, those tackles think, hey, wow, this kid's got a little shake and bake. And of course, he blocked the field goal. He got good pressure. The big play when he in the last play when Brown intercepted the pass, he had a good pass rush. He got down at his legs. He couldn't follow through on the ball, so he short-armed it, you know, in an interception. I mean, the kid came up with some big plays. Now, you know, I was listening to a segment on radio of somebody talking about a defensive end at Ohio State is a 5-star.
Yeah. Talking
about a kid being pancaked. This guy plays high, so there are going to be times against the run where he's going to take his blows. You know, but hey, these guys are 300 and some pounds playing tackle, and he's probably 260 or 265. Those kind of guys, sometimes that happens to them, but you got to have those kind of guys that can rush the passer. And he does a great job.
I know it's early, but he reminded me of a young Tamba Ali. So they're just.
Well, he's not young, O'Neal. Remember, he's a fifth-year senior. Right. I mean, he's a graduate.
Right. Pry, a lot's focus has been on Yurcich, and they haven't ended that many games defensively on their terms. And I thought Pry deserves some credit, and the defensive staff. Terry Smith,
job.
the secondary played.
How about Anthony Poindexter?
Yeah.
Guy comes in as a safeties coach. Yeah, one correction. AK is not a grad transfer. He has 2 years of eligibility left. We'll see if he uses both of them.
Hopefully we can see more blocked field goals, because coming up after a quick break, there's always things we need to improve on a little bit. Some concerns, including a major targeting call. This after the break.
The NitWits are being brought to you by RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. I am joined by the NitWits, Mark Brennan. I'm Anderly Penwell, Neil Riddell, and Steve Smear. So yesterday we did see, unfortunately, an interesting targeting call. Can we get that video rolling, Tanner? Thank you so much. So yeah, here, fourth quarter, and here comes Ellis Brooks. It's up in quarterback Graham Mertz's general head area. It was called targeting. He was ejected. Here's the replay. What did you guys think overall about this call and then that rule in general?
I think this was a bang call. I thought initially he had him in hit his shoulder, but I could see why they called it. They're trying to protect. I don't like the having to sit out. I think it's too much penalty. It wasn't like it was a headhunting intent.
Right.
I didn't think.
Yeah,
trying to make a play and the quarterback was running.
I think they have to make this more clear for how officials have to interpret it. And I do think, if you lead with your head and spear somebody in a helmet, you should be gone.
Right.
But I think, as Neil said, the other interesting thing about this, at the stadium, it looked like the officials had no intention whatsoever of making a call. Right. And they played that up on the big board like 8-9 times, and every time the crowd went nuts. And this is your home field advantage coming back in. And I think the officials were, I don't know if they would admit that, but I think they were swayed to take a look. And then they did. And obviously, listen, I didn't see it as well as you guys did because I wasn't watching on TV. But from what people were saying, by the letter of the law, it's a penalty. And I think that they have to take a look at how these things are enforced.
Steve, defensively, how are you trying to make those tackles without, from my view, it looked like, like Neil said, kind of bang. How does that affect a defense when, in my mind, it doesn't seem like it was headhunting. How are you trying to make that play without getting calls like that in the future?
That's why I thought it was a bad call, because I thought he led with the shoulder and the side of his helmet, okay? And I thought it shouldn't have been called, but it was. I think to have him have to sit out just like Neil, I think that's too tough of a situation that you put a kid in that he can't play the first half in the next game. But it was a bang call, and they were not going to call it. They didn't call it, and then until the crowd reacted, and then they said, hey, we're getting some stress here from the home crowd, and then they turned it around.
Well, they fixed the rule a little bit. It used to be the guy had to go right to the locker room. It was almost a police
walk of shame.
A police escort. Right. And Parsons was in there tweeting with the one time. And they ended that and at least let them stay with their teammates. But there's still an ostracization there that shouldn't be. Right. And even on the broadcast, they called it a disgrace. They said they really need to address this.
Yeah, Twitter did not like that one either. Also, the offensive line, Clifford got hit a couple times. Moving forward, what adjustments do you guys think need to be made in order to protect our quarterback?
I was surprised the offensive tackles allowed a couple of the things that they allowed, specifically earlier in the game. I think both of those guys have big-time NFL potential, and maybe it's just a matter of getting used to playing in actual game situations where you're not doing that in practice. You're not facing that kind of intensity. So, you would hope if you're a Penn State fan that both of those guys, Wallace and Walker, because again, they are both big, athletic, freakishly athletic for their size, and they both have high upsides, but they really have to pull it together.
Wallace did spring the 34-yarder for Kane in the second half. They did a little better in the second half. But,
overall second
generally,
half
I think
better,
still a concern.
What they had problems with was a twist with the linebacker coming on a move. You know, with the tackle going in and the linebacker coming around. Sometimes he went around two guys and came up there. They put a lot of pressure on them. You know, that risk reward with their defense, and they got in trouble a couple times with the long ball because of it, because they couldn't take care of it against they were playing man back there, and they didn't adjust.
But real
You
quick,
should
sometimes
be on CBS.
sometimes you have to give the other guy credit, you know, and I know that's kind of a Joe Paternoism, but Wisconsin also spent the entire preseason preparing for this game, so I think they probably figured out some things that they could do.
You know what? Did you see that one statistic that they're ranked number 2 and 3 in defense for like the last 20 years? So they play
legit.
good defense. I mean, I mean they're a tough defensive team, and I thought they did a fairly good job against them.
But
really.
Neil makes us have a wet blanket segment, so we have it.
Well, okay, let's get to the kicker.
There we go.
I mean, seriously, you were almost in a position to lose because you missed an extra point and you made a change. Pinniger was 32 of 37 over the last 3 years, inside 40. It just surprised me.
James Franklin didn't address that situation. You know, hopefully he does on Tuesday, of why the change was made. It seemed interesting, if nothing else. That would have been unbelievable if Stout has one of the great punting games ever at Penn State. Maybe not John Bruno against Miami, but that was unbelievable. If they would have ended up losing that game based on those missed kicks. Wow, it would have been tough. But it did look like Rafael Checa had the laces back. That's something whatever the issue is, they have to get that figured out, because you don't want to lose a game based on that.
Definitely. Laces harder to kick, but maybe it's always a question. But we'll be right back after a quick break with our predictions for next week and our Nitwit of the Week.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by NovaCare, Altoona and State College. We proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, Attorneys at Law. Michael Rooch. Peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. It is time for our Nitwit of the Week. Last week, Joe Nastasi was on, and he picked Penn State to win, so he is the closest. I almost did the math wrong on that and gave it to myself, but Joe is the winner, so the guest is the Nitwit of the Week so far, so they have won. The rest of us have some.
He also picked him to go 12-0, by the way, just so
Yes,
you know.
Unbelievable.
Just
So
you
he's
know.
on track for sure right now. But next week, home opener against Ball State. What are your guys' picks for that game? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, Ball State is a team, I think they've won 8 straight games. They had a really good season last year, MAC champions. But I think they're going to be overwhelmed by the physicality and athleticism of Penn State. This is a team that gave up 26 points a game last year. And I look for another big offensive game for the Penn State receivers, and I think they'll get the ground game going. I will go Penn State 42, Ball State 17.
Okay, I'll jump in. He leaves me an opening. I'm going to say, you know, they got an experienced quarterback. He started like since 2017, for God's sake. I'm going to say Penn State 37, Ball State 16.
What about you, Steve?
I'm going to say 42-20, Penn State. The only thing I wonder is, are they going to let the backup quarterback play a little bit once they get a little bit of a lead?
Yeah,
be something to do, because the guy has no experience, so they might give him a little shot there in the game.
And I picked Penn State, rounded out, I think 38-10, home opener.
Going high. Yeah.
I think it'll be a good game, so very exciting. How excited are you guys to have a full Beaver Stadium?
Oh, I mean, it was great being out in Madison for a football game with fans in the stands, and I can't even imagine how it's going to be knocked up even another notch being in Beaver Stadium with fans back, and then with the whiteout coming up. I mean, this is what it's about. We have great jobs. It's very fun to do, and I'm anxious to be back in Beaver Stadium.
Awesome. For Nittany Nation, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you next week.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.